right in and talk to Pete Sabine. Pete is a real estate broker and consultant that specializes in residential and income property sales since 1985. I almost said 1885. Pete, you would have been around for a long time.
That's right.
Yeah, you look great for 100 and whatever that would be.
Thank you. It's your almond fluid that does it.
He brings together an extensive background in sales, marketing, negotiation, relocation, and construction, with buying and selling strategies focused on delivering quality, service, expertise, and innovative solutions for clients. Pete has closed more than 600 real estate transactions in Contra Costa County, and he's also the manager of our Walnut Creek Riviera office. So out there virtually, put your hands together for Pete Sabine.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. So you've got tons of content. You've taught this all over the state to a lot of different groups, and this is something that you just have a real core competency and passion in. So I just want to dive right in and let them get the information from your brain and get your keyboards ready, because I know you're going to have a lot of questions on this. So let's just get started. First of all, I'm an agent. Maybe I'm not super tech-centric. I got a Facebook page, but do I really need a LinkedIn, Twitter, all this stuff, right?
Right.
Do I have to have a LinkedIn? Do I need it?
I think you do.
Okay.
I think you need it more than anything else.
Okay.
I know LinkedIn is one of the best social media platforms for business people, and it can be wildly successful for real estate agents.
Okay. So if I had never done it, like why then do I need LinkedIn? Why do I got to add one more thing that I got to manage and pay attention to and log into and get damn emails from, and people want my birthday and want me to play Lucky Bingo? Why do I need it?
For all those reasons that you just listed, you don't have to go through that with LinkedIn.
Oh, thank God.
It's one of the most professional, it is the most professional social media network available, and it's growing rapidly. We've had a 40% increase in 12 months in LinkedIn participation growth. So it's caught on. It's thought of in many ways as a online resume, which on surface level is true, but there's so much more to LinkedIn, which we'll cover in a minute, that adds depth and dimension to why you want to be there.
The example that I usually give is Facebook's a little like TMZ, and LinkedIn's a little like CNBC.
I think Facebook's more like TMI.
Yeah. All right, good. That too. So the next question. So LinkedIn is considered to be a, quote, static site. Can agents use it to actively grow their business? And maybe define first what static means.
Well, static would mean that whatever you have posted there doesn't change. And you can certainly use LinkedIn that way. In fact, that's the way I used it. I was one of the first users of LinkedIn back in 2003. I put a profile there and ignored it all the way up until 2009 because I didn't understand what LinkedIn was all about. So,
and LinkedIn didn't understand what LinkedIn was about either for a long time.
That's right. Yeah. So I just ignored it. And then when I saw some changes integrated into LinkedIn that was kind of following the footpaths of the best of Facebook, if you will. It became more robust in your ability to negotiate through LinkedIn and build connections. So I started getting interested in that in 2010 and started optimizing my profile, creating LinkedIn groups, company pages, learning how to navigate through LinkedIn and growing my connection base. And then when I started to realize just how powerful it was, I became all about LinkedIn and started teaching and training courses around that.
So you've given us a list of some great ways to grow your business through LinkedIn. Why don't we just run through those quickly?
Right. So what you should understand about LinkedIn, for some reason, Google search engine loves LinkedIn profiles. So right off the bat, if you don't have a digital footprint at all, this is a quick way to get in the game. It's totally high profile. LinkedIn gives high ranking to your profile. So if somebody does a search for you by typing in your name in Google, your profile will come up at the top. Why is that important? Well, think about this. Most people vet out who they want to work with before they make a decision to list or buy through them. So they're typically going to do a Google search on you to see what you're about, what they can learn from you, and to see if you're capable of marketing yourself online. So the idea here is that if you can market yourself efficiently using the internet, you should be able to market real estate as well.
Okay. So you've given us a good list here. So it's exposure for your business, which will help move me up, traffic to my website, which is awesome, improve my search rankings, get to the generate qualified leads. How do I take this LinkedIn profile and my participation in LinkedIn, and how do I turn it into leads? I know we're going to talk more about it later.
Right.
Give me the quick flyover.
So the key core thing to do with your profile is to integrate search keyword terms into building your profile. And you want to be specific to your specialties, whether it's foreclosures, move-up buyers, luxury homes, distress sales, whatever it happens to be, property management. You want to weave in these keyword search terms. The other thing to remember is people search locally. So you want to include all the areas into your keywords where you do business. So all the cities, the counties, and you also want to make sure you include the zip codes, because in the advanced search feature of LinkedIn, people that are trying to find people in your profession will search locally using those search terms.
So in my profile where I'm describing my role responsibility, it would be something like Keith Robinson is a real estate agent in Walnut Creek, Concord, and Pleasant Hill. I specialize in working blank, blank, blank. Like, so weaving in the description of what I do, but making sure it's keyword friendly.
Right. Actually, it's about repeating the same thing over and over again, but inserting the different city each time you do that. And so there's repetition in that, and by doing so, you're just integrating duplication with the exception of the city and the zip code where you do your business. So when someone does a search on LinkedIn by location, you will come up at the top of the rankings.
Got it.
So as an example, there's probably 14 million real estate profiles on LinkedIn currently.
14 million.
14 million. And you can rank at the top or near the top if you have your keyword set appropriately. But what's more importantly is ranking at the top for Walnut Creek real estate or Pleasant Hill real estate or Berkeley real estate. And so there might only be 800 profiles in Berkeley under Berkeley real estate, and you want to be in the top 5.
Good question that someone could ask. I assume your profile page is fully dialed and a good example for people to look at.
Right.
Okay, so they could look at you on LinkedIn, just go to Sabine, search in there, and you should pop right up.
I should pop right up, and I recommend that you copy whatever I do and just make it your own. Don't try to reinvent this. It took me a long time to learn all these little tips and secrets. So just, you can print profiles out to a PDF on LinkedIn. So print it out, copy it, use it as a model to create your own.
Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, right?
Right.
Good. All right, good. Next question we've got for you is have you closed business? Have you transacted real estate from LinkedIn?
Yeah, I have actually. I've gotten some great leads that have turned into real estate sales. One of the most memorable was about a year and a half ago, a young couple transferring here from New Jersey, looking to buy a home. They did a search on LinkedIn for realtors in Lafayette. I came up at the top. And within 60 days, we had closed escrow. It was a $950,000 sale, so that was a $30,000 adventure. Good news.
Yeah, great. All right, so that works.
Yep.
So normally we think of internet leads as being towards the top of the funnel, so things that are generated online. Most people start their search online. When you catch them that early, it can be a longer management cycle. When you get a LinkedIn lead because they're searching on LinkedIn for a real estate agent as opposed to searching on Google for property, do you find those to be further down the funnel, about the same place? What's your experience with the closer to purchasing?
Yeah, typically they're near the end of the funnel. Most people begin their search for properties first, and then they look for a professional later. And so they're ready to buy or sell.
So this is almost like a giant virtual open house, but for them to have the quick screening virtually with the real estate agent that they may want to interview.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. And your recommendations on LinkedIn are key. We'll get into that in a second.
All right, perfect. So, okay, that's my favorite picture we've ever used on a radio show ever. That is so awesome. I need someone from marketing to email me that picture because that will be my new profile pic. That is awesome. All right, what should be the most important elements to an agent's professional profile other than making sure you use that picture for your LinkedIn profile, because that's epic?
Well, let's talk about the picture. This is not Facebook.
Right.
So
Pete hates the picture.
Your photo on LinkedIn has got to be all about business. All the other, friendly stuff can be on Facebook, but really it should be a professional photo for your profile.
Does that mean like it has to be the boring, I sit in front of the background and take the cheesy headshot?
No.
Okay, it could be a little bit more than that?
I think so.
Okay,
Absolutely.
but not double guns up guy here?
I wouldn't be showing any tattoos or anything.
Oh, God. All right. Seriously, though, send me that picture. That's awesome. All right.
So the other things in your profile that are really key is your header title. What the description is in your title is really important because those were the keyword search terms live for both internal SEO on LinkedIn and external SEO on Google.
All right, so a couple people's head just exploded. They don't have any idea what you just said.
Right.
So I'm going to try to translate for the technologically impaired because I'm one of them.
Okay.
And then you tell me if I screwed it up.
All right.
So what I put in my header title has direct impact on where I'll show up in ranking for search and, make sure I'm closer to the top 3 when someone does a Google search or when someone does a search on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. That's one of the 5 key areas where you want to get your keywords correct. In other words, what you do and where you do it.
Okay, good.
The next place is your profile summary. Now, this is a great place to put in there what you do, why you're different, your value proposition, your unique abilities to serve your clients. And that's the place where people make a judgment call and try to read between the lines to see if you're the right fit for them.
Okay.
The next place would be your LinkedIn skills. You can add up to 50 skills on your LinkedIn profile. And these are direct keyword search terms that LinkedIn uses internally so that people can find you. It's also tied to something called LinkedIn endorsements, which we'll get into in a minute. So make sure your skills are aligned with what you'd like to be endorsed for later.
Are those endorsements those crazy little things that keep popping up in my email all the time? So-and-so's endorsed you?
That's what they are. We'll
Nice.
talk about that in a second. I have my own opinions about that. The other place you want to get this right is in your current and past experience, and this is where your repetition comes into play. So
one of my questions was, how do I make it search engine optimization friendly and consumer friendly at the same time so it doesn't look like I'm just saying the same thing over and over and over?
Right. The good news is when you say that over and over again, when you create this, repeating this by city and changing it only with the terms of the city in that, is that you can hide it. So people will only see the top 3 and the other 72 that might live beneath it, they won't see that.
Good.
So you can create that setting there.
Without sort of looking like you're just optimizing to optimize.
Right.
Got it.
Exactly.
Good. That's great.
Yeah. And then so your current experience and your past experience, those geographic keywords and your specialty keywords need to be integrated into that. And then this isn't SEO, but the recommendations on your profile, that's the item number 6. We'll get into the value of recommendations versus endorsements in a minute.
Okay. Cool. So you've given us some optimization stuff for the LinkedIn profile. A lot of this we just touched on. Anything you want to add in? What's website secret? What is that? Is that like the Matrix?
Yeah, well, it's a simple secret. With LinkedIn, you can have 3 links out to different websites or a blog or your Facebook page, whatever you want to call it. And they just give you a generic title for that. Just click through it. It says website. You can change the title of that and make it a call to action, like search foreclosures or find the best deal or learn about this. So if you retitle that label and create a call to action from that, then it's a more compelling reason for them to actually want to click through. It's simple to do.
Yeah.
It's a change in your settings. It takes about two minutes to make that happen.
So let me make sure I understood. So on LinkedIn, you get the opportunity to link to your profile 3 different websites.
Right.
And you can link those to anything you want.
That's
it doesn't
right.
have to link back to your landing page with your, whatever, right? You could link it to
Facebook,
or specific calls to action like First Alert. You could link back to First Alert registration and see properties before the next buyer does, and link back to First Alert.
As long as it's a website URL, you can link to it.
Very
It can
cool.
land anywhere.
So there's no rules with LinkedIn making it feel too businessy or too lead capture-ish or anything
All
like
about business on LinkedIn.
Whereas Facebook, there's some resistance to that kind of stuff.
Right.
With LinkedIn, it's a lot more accepted because it's professional-based, not personal-based.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Great. So let's shift gears a little bit. what are the best ways to build your network on LinkedIn? Let's say I've had one like you for a long time, and I've got a whopping 9 people in my LinkedIn network.
Yeah.
How do I grow it consistently and persistently?
All right. Well, the fast way to grow your connections is to use the database that you probably already have. So you can upload your contacts right off your desktop. So if you've got Outlook, if you've got Top Producer, whatever the contact management system you might be using, your Gmail contacts, Comcast, it doesn't matter. You can upload them into LinkedIn. What's great about this feature is once they're in LinkedIn is going to say, all right, of the 500 you just uploaded, 357 are on LinkedIn. Would you like to connect with them? And you're going to say yes. And so it sends out an invitation to them right then and there. So you could have 357 connections by the next day. So if you want to get a jump on building your network, which I highly recommend, that would be one of the first steps you'd take.
Okay. Does it scrub through that list people that I've already invited or people that I'm already friends with?
It would.
Maybe not friends. What does LinkedIn call them?
Connections.
Connections. Sorry.
Right.
I've got to make sure I'm using my
Right.
correct languaging.
Right.
Yes. So it'll identify people I'm already connected with so that it's not redundant.
Right.
Okay. Good. All right. So just upload whatever you got, and that's a great way to start. Do it. Sometimes people get a little, they get their head wrapped around it. Do I need to edit? Like, what if, I've never really reached out to someone on a professional basis. Is it going to feel weird? How much do you recommend that someone edits versus don't edit? Just download the whole list, send it, let the invite sort itself out.
I would focus on growing your connections in whatever means that you can in volume first, because it's all about tapping into sphere of influence from each connection that you make. So in other words, at one point in time I had about 1,000 connections that were my first line connections, and through that I had access to over 9 million people through third-party connections. So that just illustrates the reach that you have by focusing on getting to 1,000 to reach 9 million people. That's a pretty good exercise.
Is there a good, let's say I'm at 3 or 13. Is there a good record, like what's the first sort of threshold in your opinion? I should try to get to 100, I should try to get to 250. What's the good first number to use as a benchmark?
Try to hit 500.
Okay.
Because then things start to take a life of its own on LinkedIn. People will find you more easier because you have more connections, and it's kind of the psychology that if you appear to be connected, people want to connect to you, the law of attraction. So try to get it above 3 or 15 as quickly as possible, because the other side of that is the few that spam on LinkedIn won't have very many connections, and LinkedIn savvy users will see that you only have a handful, and they may be resistant to connecting with you if they don't know you that well.
Got it. Whereas if you have a lot, if enough other people have trusted you, I guess I can trust you too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then, so this just really illustrates the reach of LinkedIn, right?
Right.
If I have 1,000 contacts, I can transition that into 9 million people that I have access to at least get some information from.
Right.
And one thing that I've used LinkedIn, just to riff on this for just a second, is when I have a project or something that I am working on, I can get a tremendous amount of information from people who already have an expertise in that field. And one of the profile settings you can have is that you're okay with being asked for an expertise request. And I have shot emails to people in LinkedIn, and they've been very receptive to if I'm working or considering doing a development project, I may talk to a local builder or a not local builder. But people have been willing to have me fly out and look at their operation. They've been willing to send me a lot of data and information. You can get a tremendous amount of expertise from just getting to know people on LinkedIn and searching through.
Absolutely. There's a great way to learn about your connections before you meet up with them. That's one of the things I do before I meet a client. I look to see if they're on LinkedIn. I try to do my due diligence about them as well and discover, their background, what's important to them, get some clues to what's behind the person that you're trying to build a relationship with. LinkedIn is one of the best tools for that purpose.
We must have struck something because we got 3 questions from the audience, all at 10:19. So let me kind of grind through these real fast.
All right.
Great questions, by the way. Can you scroll back up, Ken? Thank you. One is question, and essentially two people ask the same question. One, Al and Florence ask in different ways. Once Al asks, should you connect with realtors in your local market? And then Florence asks, why would I want to connect with realtors in my local market?
Good
so
questions.
One is should, and if the answer is yes, then why? If the answer is no, then don't worry about why.
Right. So I have a lot of connections with real estate people on LinkedIn and Facebook, and that's because I do a lot of business with my peers. So when I take a listing, and LinkedIn, by the way, is a great resource to market high-end luxury properties because it's a very affluent platform where a lot of key decision makers that have the wherewithal to purchase high-end properties live, and the real estate people that serve them. So having a lot of real estate connections, in my opinion, is a great idea.
Okay, any downside? Jim asks, any downside to connecting with real estate agents in your...
I can't think of one. I come from the place that more is more. And by the way, does anybody out there like referrals from agents outside of their marketplace?
Yeah, if your hand's not up, you get to see me after the webinar.
Right. So I have made a ton of great referral connections. I had one last year from a commercial real estate broker in Chicago. He happens to belong to one of my LinkedIn investor groups. And groups, by the way, are a fabulous way to connect. He was looking to buy a 50 to 100 unit apartment building in the East Bay. So I'm not sure what that building might cost. That's probably a pretty pricey sale point, and the commission related to that is pretty decent. That wasn't my field of expertise, so I referred it out. But 25% of that referral would be a great income. And he found me through LinkedIn in my profile.
Yeah, I think, we see our local peers at marketing meetings. We see our local peers on Brokers Tour. I guess I could come up, if I thought long enough, about some, do I want someone who is just going to copy everything I do? And if I make friends with my local real estate agents, they have access to how I'm tweaking and changing and adjusting my LinkedIn strategy. But to be honest, I wouldn't live in fear. There's nothing new that's under the sun. They can all go to Pete's seminars and learn how to do the same things that we're teaching you, or someone else not named Pete that is good with LinkedIn. If someone is passionate about making LinkedIn part of their business, they're going to be good at it with or without you. And if someone isn't passionate about making LinkedIn part of their business, whether or not you show them, they won't have much success. So I don't think I would live in fear on that at all. I think you could even probably create a subgroup and market your new listings through LinkedIn to agents that are in your macro or micro market area. So I wouldn't live in fear of that at all. Couple other questions. So we get this. Sometimes people will send a friend request or a connect request on LinkedIn, and you don't have any idea who they are.
Right.
Should I accept those in LinkedIn, in your opinion? Is it numbers for numbers' sake? Because this is a little more business-centric, where I'm not going to be putting pictures of my dog or whatever else, or should I have a little more rigor around who I let in and who I don't?
I would be mindful of who you let in. One of the things I do, first of all, if I don't know them by name or profession, I will click on their profile to see how many connections they have. If they don't have very many, I probably won't connect with them because they're most likely a spammer.
Okay.
But the other side of that is I will connect with as many people as I possibly can that I think belong in my universe professionally.
Even if you may not have a personal relationship, if they seem like the kind of person that fits for your network, you may send an invite?
Absolutely, I'll send an invite. When I do that, I personalize it. That is a key ingredient into getting acceptance.
So not just the default, I'd like to add you to my network on LinkedIn or whatever their canned one is that I get all the time.
Right, right. And by the way, that's a great follow-up strategy. If you go to a networking session, you're collecting business cards, your intent is to do what? Follow up. Do we do that? Probably not. Things get in the way. So the habit I got into is, at the end of the day, I log onto LinkedIn, see how many of those people have a profile, and if they do, I will reach out to them for a connection, and I'll personalize that note and reference how we met, what we talked about, and they always say yes.
Good deal. Good. Couple questions. Carol mentioned she's had an account for a long time, and then she was asked, she said the free account has expired, and she was asked to pay a pricey amount to continue membership. Maybe she used like an upgrade that was free for 90 days or something like that. But basic LinkedIn, sort of basic is free, right?
Free is good enough for most of us.
Okay.
You have access to 90% of what you need to make things happen on LinkedIn. I just stepped up to the paid version for the sole reason that I can see who's viewed my profile. And when you're in the recruiting business, when you have candidates checking you out, that's
Sure.
probably a good clue that you should connect with them.
Got it. Okay. So can I actively market and send email campaigns to my contacts through LinkedIn?
You can. There's two ways to do this. One great thing about LinkedIn is you can export all of your LinkedIn connections off of LinkedIn and upload those into an email campaign drip system to market to them. And so there aren't a lot of social media platforms that allow you to do that. LinkedIn is one of them. And then, and then LinkedIn has what's known as InMail. It's their own internal email client where you can reach out to people using email at 50 at a time, and they limit it to 50 at a time to slow you down so you don't do mass broadcast spamming. But it is one of the most efficient ways to get your emails read and opened, because when those emails land in the inbox of the recipient, they are coming from LinkedIn. The deliverability rate is extremely high because of that, and the spam filters, etc. And you're getting that third-party endorsement through LinkedIn that it's actually coming through their system. So I've had great success reaching out to people using LinkedIn email.
Great. So this is an example, I think, of the headers that you talked about before.
Right.
Where this is, I assume, right from, well, it's got your picture on it and your name, so I assume this is right from your LinkedIn profile.
It is.
Tell me how the highlighted portion, sort of what makes sense as far as search engine optimization and really making sure my header looks right.
So it says where I do business and what I do. So it says California real estate broker. That is a search term. Business development coach, sales team leader, social media marketing consultant. Those are all search terms.
Great.
There's another secret I just discovered about a month ago. You can put in the URL to your website in your header, and it will show up as a live hypertext link when you post through LinkedIn. So now when they see your name next to your post and your update, they'll see that live link, they click on it, and they land wherever it is you want to take them.
Huh. Okay, good. We also have an example, I think, of the power of LinkedIn and how it really pushes things up in the ranking.
Right. So this is, we're talking about a Google search using my name. If you type in Pete Sabine to Google, you'll see that my LinkedIn profile is near the top, and it's embedded next to some other places where I am online, and these other areas have been there for a long, long time, and my LinkedIn profile just gets right to the top. If you have no digital footprint at all, you should start with LinkedIn first because it'll get you there fast.
Great. So you mentioned endorsements before. And what's the difference between an endorsement and a recommendation?
Right.
And then how do I seek endorsements and how do I seek recommendations?
Okay, so endorsements is fairly new to LinkedIn. Just in the last few months, they added this feature. So the best analogy I can use is to think of it as a like button, similar to the whole Facebook idea.
So it's kind of a quick and easy way. Someone sees my profile, they maybe saw me speak somewhere, or they worked for me at an office that I ran once upon a time, and they may endorse me quickly, click a couple boxes of what Keith is good at,
Right.
and they'll check a couple boxes, and they're off to the races.
Right, and so this goes back to your skills. The skills that you've selected are actually linked to the endorsements. That's what they are endorsing you for, the skills that you've selected. So make sure that your skills are relevant and they're current. Otherwise, you might be getting endorsements for things that you don't do anymore.
Right.
But endorsements are great. It's a great down and dirty, quick and easy way to acknowledge somebody, and it tells the person you've acknowledged that you've endorsed them. So there's no harm, no foul in that. But I'm
not really a game changer, right?
Not really.
Yeah.
I prefer the recommendations over an endorsement, and the recommendations are where you seek out through your connections and ask for a recommendation for their experience that they had of you, and LinkedIn will tie that to what you're doing now or something that you used to do in the past, so that the recommendation is relevant to that experience and what you were doing at the time. One great strategy that I learned about getting LinkedIn recommendations is called the law of reciprocity. That means that you submit a unsolicited recommendation to your connection first. They receive that, and LinkedIn has this great mechanism where it asks them to recommend you in exchange for the favor. So typically I'll get at least 80 to 90% back. People will recommend me if I recommend them first. It's a great relationship building tool, by the way, to have that strategy. That could be your LinkedIn diet. 2 of those every day, 5 days a week, and you'll get referrals from that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you guys want to go look at the before picture for how to not do LinkedIn, go look at mine, because I'm sure I've utterly failed at most of the things that Pete is requesting of us. But there's 2 things I've gotten right. One is I do have a big network. I think I have 16 or 1,700 people in my network. And then 2, I have a lot of recommendations. And it's the one comment I get time and time again when I meet people professionally. If I had a meeting with chairman of the board for Bank of San Francisco not that long ago, and he went and looked at my LinkedIn profile before the meeting, and he asked me, what do you do? What are you putting in the Kool-Aid over there? Because there's a lot of good recommendations there. People do look at it. People do read it. We are preconditioned, especially online, to go look at what the consumer or the public unsolicitedly is saying about the thing that we're interested in, as opposed to seeing what the person has said about themselves. So a real steady diet of working on your recommendations is a very good idea.
It's a great listing presentation tool or buyer presentation tools to have those LinkedIn recommendations printed out and deliver a copy of those in your one-on-one meetings with your clients.
Good question, real technical one. Carol asks, can we put recommendations from other sites, so truly a recommendation or a Zillow recommendation, into LinkedIn? Or
No.
No, not at this time. They should do that. We email someone at LinkedIn, and if you think about it, it would make sense for them to cross-populate, right?
It would.
If you have a recommendation on another site, you can profile that in your LinkedIn profile.
What you could do is you could cut and paste that out of Truly and put it in your summary in quotes.
Oh.
So you could put 3 of those in there.
Okay.
That's a great place to put that in that spot. People will read it.
But the best way to get recommendations is to give recommendations.
Right.
All right. So you've given us a ton of great data. So why don't we boil this down into, I really now believe and I'm interested, and I need 3 things that I can do. We're totally off script. So I need 3 things that I could do to drive my LinkedIn profile and help take LinkedIn and make it part of how I'm getting business.
All right. So I recommend that you join LinkedIn groups. Join as many LinkedIn groups as you can that are relevant to your products and services.
So we didn't really talk about groups too much. So
Right.
give me just the 10-second elevator pitch on what a LinkedIn group is.
You can search for groups on LinkedIn just like you can for people. So go in their directory, type in the keywords, investing in real estate, whatever it is, and join. You can join up to 50 of these, and then be a part of the group discussion. Join in and start commenting. Be a thought leader in your industry, and that will link back to your profile or your website.
So join groups, become a participant in it. Okay,
Right.
good. What else? That's one.
Create your own company page on LinkedIn. Just like on Facebook, you can have a professional business page that lives underneath your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn company pages are a powerful way to show off your own real estate business and your team as well if you have one. And then underneath that, you can create niche-specific product and services subpages underneath your company page.
Okay, good.
So an example of that, I have a page called San Francisco Bay Area Real Estate Careers. So if you just search for companies under that title, you'll see what I've done with that as an example.
All right, and one more.
Yeah, join LinkedIn Answers. This is another great way to become a thought leader in your industry, and this could be part of your daily LinkedIn diet. Answer questions that are relevant to what you do, and do that on a regular, consistent basis, and people will come back to you as a resource, seek you out, and send referrals your way.
Good, good. And if you're just getting started, pay attention to what your account is. Do spend some time searching through LinkedIn, looking for people to connect with that are relevant and real. And I love the idea of sending 2 recommendations per day out. You'll quickly grow your recommendation list, and you will get a lot of recommendations back, which will really add value to what you do and to how you're screened and perceived on LinkedIn.
Plus, it notifies all of your connections on LinkedIn when you get one.
Oh,
So
good. So it's another passive.
there you go.
It's another passive contact or touch for everyone that's in your system.
Right.
Pete, I know we took what you normally do in several hours and tried to distill it down into 30 minutes. So I know this is a class you've taught, again, all over the place. So really appreciate you taking the time and kind of distilling it down. We'll have Pete doing some seminars on this soon, maybe even put together a road show or something where we can regionalize a little bit, because I know that there's a lot of people that could use and benefit from having your brain around LinkedIn. So appreciate you taking the time to share with everyone today. Thanks so much.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks, Keith.
All right, thank you. So now the lovely and talented Miss Kathy Harrington is going to scoot me out of the way. Glad this isn't a TV show. She just shoved me. I don't know if you guys could see that on the webinar, but she pushed me right out of the way because she wants the mic.
He's very shovable.
I am shovable. So, Kathy, you're going to talk to them about First Alert?
Absolutely, absolutely. So hopefully most of you have gotten the emails and, have heard about this push for First Alert. First Alert at a very elementary level is just a rebranding and repositioning of property alerts. What makes First Alert interesting for folks coming into your open house is a couple things. First of all, refreshing, buyers. You're going to hear about from Matt in just a minute. We are 75% down year over year in inventory. Wow. So isn't it a great value proposition for potential buyers walking into your open house that sign up today? You're going to hear when properties come on the market first. And the added component to First Alert is that agents in Mason-McDuffie can add in their coming soon listings on WebTop. So if you've got a listings coming on the market next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and you want to start having that included in the First Alert marketing emails that go out to buyers with Mason-McDuffie, make sure by all means to add those into WebTop. And then that promise that we are saying to buyers coming into our open houses is right on, and they know that they can sign up. So take your laptop, take your iPad, and make it look like you are on that cutting edge. And
no, don't make it look like. Be on the cutting edge. Okay, good.
Thank you. Be on the cutting edge.
Or make it look like. Fake it till you make it, people.
Yeah, right. And if you and exactly, people want to know immediacy. That is what the iPad and the laptop create. They communicate immediacy. Let me get this information into you. You're going to get an immediate alert of homes as they come on the market. So be sure to use it. We have these stands and these marketing pieces that you see here. Your manager and office administrator have them. Grab one, take it to your open house, sign people up. And by the way, if you're wondering how to sign them up, you got to go to www.bhghome.com/your website. Okay, it's not on WebTop, it's on your website. So in the top of your website, it says either register or sign up. That's it. Click on that, and that's your First Alert sign. So good luck, everybody, and sign. Work on tripling those open house leads.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm shoving her back now, so we're even. Look, obviously, Matt and I are about to spend 20 minutes trying to come up with different ways to tell you that inventory is non-existent and prices are having upward pressure on price. I know you're living in this reality every day. Buyers have a voracious appetite for trying to get access to properties first. They feel like they can get a first mover advantage. This is our way of making sure that we are positioning ourselves properly with the buyer. And it gives you a really elegant way to follow up with every lead that you get from an open house. So I would make this standard operating procedure at any open house. I'd make it standard operating procedure for any buyer conversation. You could have a chat in the line at the supermarket with someone who is talking about how they're in the market or they're getting ready to get in the market and it seems like it's really competitive. You could put them on First Alert right while you're sitting in line at the grocery store, and it will drip on them until they alert you, hey, we'd like to see 123 Elm Street. So great passive way for you to continue to market to your clients and prospects consistently and persistently. So make sure you're using this tool. All right, Matt Cord is with us from our Berkeley office, but he's going to give us a market update that isn't just necessarily for Berkeley specific. It's going to be real estate in general. And this will be true with some certain amount of standard deviation because we're seeing, regardless of what market you're in, because we're seeing this across the board throughout the entire company. But I know Matt's sort of a numbers nerd, even though he looks a little like Ryan Reynolds. Pretty good looking. That's a nice headshot. That's good.
That's like 10 years old. I'm going to keep that going for the next 10 years.
Good. That is the way of real estate. So rock that thing. So Matt, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Matt's email inbox is about to explode because I just told everybody he looks like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, all with people denying it.
Right. So Bay Area snapshot, Q3 versus Q4. Tell us what you're seeing in these numbers, what's important to notice.
I think the most important thing when you start to distill these numbers down, you've got to take a look at a couple things. Whenever you take a look at a snapshot, it's very, very hard to get a gauge of what's happening in a vacuum. So be careful when you take a look at, say, Q3 of 2012 to Q3 2011, because that's not going to paint the full picture. What I try to do is actually look for trends. So for me, I'll try to look at the median price increase quarter over quarter and year over year to see if it is trending in a similar direction, which it is. The other thing for me that I try to take a look at too is days on market. And again, it's speaking to how quickly we're able to get our houses out there and into contract and finally off the market. So those are the two kind of trend lines that I try to put together when looking at numbers like this.
So if we take a look at the numbers that are on the screen, then what we've seen is, just to make sure I'm looking at it properly, we've seen the median sales price go up, 27% change year over year, and days on market go down by 15 days year over year. Is that?
That's, yeah. You guys, I think when we started it here, we're all feeling the same effects of a lack of inventory, right? And what happens when you have not enough homes on the market and far too many buyers, you end up getting into a multiple offer situation, which is going to continue to drive price appreciation.
So now I know we got more numbers on this, but I'm going to ask you the question that you probably get asked every day, hundreds of times. How do you see this progressing? How is this going to be different? Is now the new normal? As someone who has his finger on the pulse of the data, what do you say when your agents, when you are having conference room conversations with clients? What do you say to answer that question?
First of all, it's incredibly generous to say that I've got my finger on the pulse of these numbers.
Well, I know, but we got you here, so you're the
right.
one
Just make it up.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So here's what I think. We've been tracking these numbers in our office for the last handful of years, and what we've seen up until 2 months ago was 20 straight months of a declining supply. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. We've started to see it increase just a little bit. One of two things is happening. One, when you're already laying on the floor, there's only one way to go. The second is we are generally pretty aware that the overall public and media that goes and reports these is anywhere from 6 months to a year behind.
Right.
So we're now getting to a point where people who may not have thought they had equity in their home or didn't feel like selling their home was a possibility are now realizing that it is. So we're going to start seeing this year a greater test in terms of what people think they can get for their home. So I think we're going to start to see some supply increase here, and I think we should start seeing it in this first quarter.
The first quarter, this next quarter coming up? Or
this next quarter coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you said 20, that's interesting. So I look at the company statistics more than I look at the market statistics because we all look at what our world is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I saw is a year ago, February, basically something happened and the whole world, as far as Mason-McDuffie was concerned, decided it was time to get into residential real estate and buy something.
Right.
And we saw a tremendous consumption of the supply because the demand was unlike anything I'd ever seen in my 13 years of residential real estate, where we always say there's never a bell that goes off that says, times have changed. But somehow the consumer, a bell went off, and they all were diving into the market at record pace. So you've seen 20 straight months, exception of the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 months, we've started to see inventory increase. And what happens, I think when you get to the ends of the spectrum, the jumps are much smaller. So even though 20 months ago we saw this decline, it really didn't take off until the beginning of last year where all of a sudden it seemed like there was nothing out there and everybody wanted something.
Right. Because you reach a tipping point at which there just isn't any more inventory available. Okay, good. Next set of stats you have for us is in this case. If you get nothing else, please don't log out right after we do cover this. But the good sound bite to take away to talk about with clients is inventory is down year over year 75%. Is that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I didn't mean to steal your slide from you, but
and thank you for coming. Yeah, no, this is, I mean, we have seen inventory steadily decline. I mean, a lot of this is driven by, money is incredibly cheap. People are feeling like real estate is a safe haven again. And I really think, too, that you've got real estate is a little bit of, a tailwind to this recovering economy, right? We're driving a lot. And I think there are a lot of people that are finally starting to realize that this is a safe play again.
So don't get freaked out by the slides. The slide is wrong.
Reverse the numbers?
Reverse. No, we had an error in slide creation, but it doesn't make the data wrong. The data is right that inventory is down by 75%. Here we have a graphical representation of this, and again, we'll send these PowerPoint out to everyone that's on the radio show so that you can feather this into your buyer or listing consultations as you see fit. We tend to think of a 5 to 6 month supply as a normalized market, and here is a graphical representation of what we just showed you statistically on how inventory for home sales is. Obviously, it's pretty much a straight line down.
Right. I mean, this is from NAR, and it's showing about a 4.4 month supply nationally. In hotter markets like ours, we particularly cover about 38 cities in Contra Costa County and Alameda County. At the beginning of this year, there was 2 weeks of inventory. And I think we've talked about this before in absorption rate, but when you're talking to your clients, one of the easiest ways to tell them is if not another home were to go on the market today, at the current sales price, it would take us 2 weeks to sell out in both counties. So it's drastic.
Wow. Okay. That's good script and dialogue. If you didn't jot that down, jot it down now. Because it helps. Look, buyers read and listen to the media and then come talk to us. And as Matt said before, they're 6 to 12 months late consistently. We're just now starting to see media reports that it sounds like housing is in a recovery. Right? We're seeing no inventory. We're seeing dramatic upward pressure on price. What I promise what you'll see in the next 6 to 8 months is the real estate is hot again. Articles coming out, and you'll see people thinking it's easy to be in real estate and all of the craziness that comes along with that. It's our job to help buyers understand, because the normal sources of information for themselves aren't going to do that. And a great way to do it is to say, if not another house came on the market, we would consume our entire supply of inventory in 2 weeks for Alameda, Contra Costa County. And you could pull the data stats if you're in Sacramento, or if you're in Tahoe, you can pull the data stats for those markets. But I know it's true across the board because I talk to agents in every one of our markets, and this is what I keep hearing. So, Matt, that was a good way to communicate to someone maybe in an open house or someone in a buyer consultation. You work with agents all day. How do you help them answer this question, or any other sort of tips, scripts, dialogues, anything that you can give that will help an agent help a buyer or seller understand what's going on in the marketplace? Right.
I mean, I think what's happening here, and certainly we're in one of the hotter markets in the country, and I think you could probably lump in a lot of California for this to begin with. Data is only as good as the argument you're trying to make, right? Everybody can have fun with numbers and kind of twist this the way they want. But you're trying to have a conversation with either having a seller that may be on the fence trying to decide whether it's a good time to list their home. Well, this is arguably one of the best times to list your home. There's so few homes on the market right now. The amount of attention that you're going to get, the multiple offer scenarios that we're seeing, and find out anecdotally in your office, what are the overbids going for? In the Berkeley office, we're seeing 15 to 20% is pretty much the standard overbid for the listings that we're getting in our office. The other part of it, too, is make sure you're counseling your buyers. If you've got a buyer that sees a property listed for $499 and they'd love to write it $395, let them know why that offer's never, ever, ever going to get looked at.
Let them know don't pack. Yeah, don't pack. Don't buy the moving boxes.
So really what you want to do with the data that you've got is be able to have an intelligent conversation quickly with people that may be on the fence for either buying or selling, and make sure that their strategies are aligned with the market.
Good. Okay, great. So we're finding more ways to remind you that there is no inventory. But month supply and impact on price. 1 to 4 months is, and I'm curious, you gave us this data, so I assume that you believe this, but 1 to 4 months, is that a good guideline for a seller's market? 5 to 6 is even? Is that...
Right. So, this is, we have to speak sometimes from the sort of 10,000-foot view or the national level,
Yep.
and then distill it down to your marketplace. Yep. So this is a very, very good guideline. I think when you're having somebody that has read, Yahoo Real Estate, and they're trying to get a gauge of what a buyer or seller's market is. For the Bay Area in particular, I would say that you could move that down to an even market being 4 to 5 months and a seller's market being somewhere between 1 and 3, just because it tends to be a more attractive market.
And what really seems to be like what I'll describe as the frothy market, you start to see that, in my experience, and I'd love your feedback, and it's okay if we don't agree. In fact, it makes the show more interesting. but is kind of that sub 2 months of inventory is really where you start to see a lot of things getting multiple offers. And, the pretty, sexy, hot new house that's totally staged and perfect, it can see multiple offers in any market. But you start to see even maybe some of the middle-of-the-road properties or those lower quartile properties starting to see multiple offers when you get sub 2 months of inventory. Is that your experience? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to disagree with that, but I can't.
Yes.
It's not only that, and the things that you have to be careful about, too, is as this excitement starts to grow and a buyer realizes that they've got to be aggressive to get the property, understand that you're not out of the woods yet. You have an entire appraisal issue that has been taking place. They have not caught up with a lot of the markets that we have. So even if you're getting a buyer to align with your strategy about being aggressive in getting the home, you're going to have to sell this home twice. Once is making sure that the seller is interested in the offer that you've got, and the second is making sure that the appraiser believes that the value's there.
And we're seeing now, I'm sure you are in Berkeley as well, offers are getting, buyers are willing to pay the first blank of any short on appraisal. I mean, we are right back to where we were in the go-go days as far as offer writing and buyers' willingness to consume risk.
I agree.
So the next one we've got is Case-Shiller Home Price Index. Tell me what this is showing, I mean, other than a perfect inverted curve.
Right. We were talking about the trends, and this is clearly trending the way we'd like to see it trend. Again, Case-Shiller, you've got to take this, again, as kind of the 10,000-foot view. They do about a 20-city composite index. So they take the main metro areas across the country and sort of compile the data. But really what we're seeing is in the last year, the price change has been fairly aggressive. And again, in our markets, certainly in California, that appreciation rate has been even higher. But again, for every agent that's out there that is looking to sort of distill information, get really local with what you're doing, right? If you specialize in a particular zip code or neighborhood, or there's a luxury home market that you're going after, those numbers will always vary. These are great high-level talking points, but make sure you're taking the time to distill this to what your area is.
But a 5 to 10% move is somewhere between, on a $500,000 average sales price, so it's somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000. A lot of people will start to tip into equity sale versus short, and you're going to see that increase so long as inventories stay this low.
We have now had this happen in the last month 3 times where somebody had listed their home as a short sale, and by the time the offers were in, it was no longer a short sale.
Got it. Melissa asks, where can we get these stats to use in our presentation? The answer is from Kathy, because Kathy Harrington is going to send these to everyone that's on the radio show. So you'll get every slide that you're seeing so that you can put these anywhere you want in a presentation. It's just copy paste. Yep. So another graphical representation now. If you haven't got it, inventory is low. But we're also seeing the mix change quite a bit as well. So talk just a little bit about the distress and what you're seeing there.
Right. So I mean, we're sort of coming out, and we're not out of the woods yet, right? This is still something that's going to be around for the next few years. But we are seeing that we've gone from over a third of all sales being a distress sale, whether it's a foreclosure or a short sale, to being just under a quarter of the market. One of the things that you're going to have to walk your clients through is as they get information from national media, you will hear about this sort of foreclosure backlog and the shadow inventory that's there. Again, you're going to have to look at which states these affect. California, Arizona, Nevada, Florida have done a very, very good job at getting through the distressed property, whereas the Northeast, they're incredibly far behind, and they've got a huge issue to deal with. So, again, the sensational headlines of, hey, there's monster shadow inventory is not going to affect every state the same way. We're looking much more in this vein of a little under a quarter of all the sales being distressed.
And we're seeing, as far as the company statistics, it's down a tremendous amount. Less than 10% of our overall transactions as a company are REO. And still a bigger percent that is short sale. We're right around the 20 to 24% as far as the company being in that, quote, distressed, unquote, bucket. But where we see the biggest shift, biggest downward pressure, short sales have stayed relatively flat, a little bit of downward pressure on it, but real downward pressure on the REO market. Again, not telling you anything you probably didn't already know, but just giving you some statistics to back it up. And we're going to transition to mortgage rates in just a second. But I'm curious, Matt, we do hear a lot about the shadow inventory. Sounds like what I heard you say is, yeah, it's there, but may not apply to Northern California.
So, I mean, just as a sort of quick comparison, New York, for instance, has nearly they're about 3 years away from being able to chew through all of theirs. California is about 9 months. So that'll give you a comparison. The down and dirty there's you're really dealing with judicial foreclosures versus non-judicial. In New York, they actually have to go through a court process, which slows everything down. We didn't have to do that. That's why we got through so much faster.
Okay. Rates. Where are rates going, Matt?
My crystal ball is always right.
Yes.
So this is the Mortgage Bankers Association, and this really is it's a composite of a lot of the top lenders getting together, giving their ideas of what they think is going to take place. There's always two numbers that you want the consumers to focus on. One is the price they're going to pay for the home. The other is the cost of money. Mm-hmm. We throw it out there all the time that a 1% increase in mortgage is basically the equivalent of a 10% drop in price.
Right.
So you want to make sure that as people are sitting there thinking that, a little bit of the froth is going to come off the market, maybe mid-year, towards the end of the year, it's going to be a little bit easier. I'll be able to get these homes more cheaply. They've got to be looking at the cost of money because that may slowly be increasing. So the overall consensus is 4.4 is still incredibly low, but would be nearly a percentage point higher than where we were at midpoint last year.
Yep. And if you go back and look at some of the historical stuff, the Fed has gone on record that where they like it is somewhere between 6 and 7%. That's where they feel like it's a normalized stasis market where there's a good flow, where credit is available and people are getting loans, but not everybody, blah, blah, blah. So I can tell you I believe definitively that you're going to see upward pressure on rate as a gross generalization over the next 36 months, and they are going to, as the perception that the economy has recovered, which depending on what day you happen to be listening to CNBC, the perception could change. But as the consumer and the business markets believe that the economy is recovered, you're going to see upward pressure on rate. I can guarantee you the Fed wishes they could raise rates. Now, as much as they're saying right now is we're not sure we need to lower anymore. That's about as aggressive as they're willing to state. But in their quiet little antechambers where they plot how they're going to rule the world, they would like to raise rates because that's how they make money. So you just have to prepare yourself that we're going to see upward pressure on rate. There is going to be a generation that thinks 7% is outrageous for a mortgage, which is a little funny because just 5 years ago, 6 years ago, people were taking 6 and 7% and they were happy to get it. So you're going to see upward pressure on rate. It'll happen over the next 3 to 4 years. You just have to be prepared for that. The good news is for us as a marketplace, so if supply stays limited, we'll push right through it. We won't really slow down. But we are an affordability market. People don't really care what they pay for a house in our marketplace as a gross generalization. What they care about is how much do I have to put down and what's my monthly payment. And an increase in rate is directly correlative to an increase, obviously, in monthly payment. And that is a resistance point that we need to be perceptive of and something that we should pay attention to.
Right. I think most clients, when they are originally getting a loan, Certainly they look at the full loan amount, but they immediately go to what the monthly payment is. I can afford $1,900 a month. They don't say I can afford a $500,000 loan.
You got it. We are a down payment market. Matt, thanks. I know you're sort of a numbers head, so thank you for taking the time to come
my
and
pleasure.
share that information with us. We'll have you back probably next quarter to take a look at how everything is continuing to go.
Would love to.
All right. Thanks again. So mark your calendars. We have Tricia Thomas, who's the CEO of Bay East Association of Realtors, one of the largest and most successful associations in the country. She's going to be talking to us about trends and what she sees going on as far as directional things for residential real estate. March 11th, we'll be talking about elections' impact on real estate. And then on the 18th, time management skills with Kathy Allerton. So I know you won't want to miss that. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next week on the radio show.